All right, we have an incredible panel. The reason why, as I mentioned in the morning, I think that part of what we're doing is to elevating the issue of Latina Equal Pay so that it becomes a really important issue. We're doing an agenda setting exercise. We're inviting all of you to raise awareness of the issue. We gave you a little dollar bill that is smaller than the normal bill so that we can all go into our social media, make noise, try to pay. When you go to the cafeteria with it, see the reaction of people, film yourself on the reaction of people. What do you mean you don't take this dollar? This is what I get paid, right? Like, we have to do more of that. We have to elevate the issue. We are not doing this alone. Our colleagues of Justice for Farmer Women, Monica Ramirez, is in the White House right now doing a similar conversation, trying to actually get the conversation going. Because I think that it is really important not only to raise the awareness, but to do it together. And I think that that's where World Human is trying to play a role, which is into recognizing the incredible individual efforts, but understanding that the only way to really generate systemic change is to doing it collectively. So here, what you see here is a panel that is on the collective effort. So that we can get an action plan and get going. So I think that I'm really, really excited. We've been talking about this for a year. I first raised this with Hele in Davos. When we started looking at this, we were with Patricia Mota saying, like, we need to get, we know of someone that can be doing an app. We know of someone that can do a white paper. Monica Ramirez is doing something for policy. And we obviously know that, we're following your footsteps. So what you see here is a collective effort from different fronts to take action. We invite you all. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a task force, of a working group, of a conversation that we will keep on going, because the goals, the ambition goals that we have are not going to be done by a single group, are going to be done by many different groups from all walks of life until we get the job done. So I would like to start by asking all of you to really pay attention to what we're going to say. This is going to be a short but powerful panel. So I'd like to start with you, Joanna. Again, no introductions, just going to the point. I would like to ask you, Joanna, can we've been talking about doing the business case. Right. What it would look like a white paper, if there would be one white paper, the way that Lord Mallow Brown did for the Sustainable Development Goals, saying this is a $12 trillion economy. What is the economy? What's the business case in this case if all Latinas will be paid equally?
So working with economists, what we did is what we calculated is that if Latinas, the 31 million of us, received equal compensation, comparable to white men, first, poverty for working women would be reduced by half. Our inflation numbers would be reduced, and the U.S. economy would add $482 billion. We are worth a lot more than that, but $482 billion, that's 2.8% of GDP in this country at a time when we are facing economic headwinds of inflation. So what that tells me is we are the solution. Latina Equal Pay is the solution to so many of the problems that we face. And I think it's really important to understand, first of all, I'm having a fangirl moment right here with Dolores. Like that? Yeah. She said she was interested in Alexa, and I was like, no, si se puede. But look, we're amidst a great global reset, and all of us are facing inflation. But the other thing that is the tailwind, for those of you in business, we talk about headwinds and tailwinds, right? The tailwind is that we are amidst one of the biggest worker revolutions that this planet has ever seen. And it is because of the lady sitting next to me. She has paved the way for workers today at the New York Times to have a digital strike to ask for equal pay. It is the Amazon workers that have helped organize this, right? And the workers that we need to see and help and support. It is all of these things because, as we know, Latina Equal Pay is a complex problem. And so I'm a designer of systems, and I deal with complex problems all day long. But the thing that takes the cake when it comes to complex problem, you know how you feed artificial intelligence? Data. Data, data, data. And what the data is showing us and what the data is telling us is that we have to get the Equal Rights Amendment passed. So all of you look up Senator Schumer's number right now and commit to calling your congressmen, your senators, and making sure that they bring that bill to the floor. But the second part, and this is important for those of us going back to our corporations, right? Only 150 of the Fortune 500 have committed to equal pay. We've got work to do in corporate America. And here's the deal. It's all open source. The answers are actually there. It's about conducting annual audits. We have to annually audit our corporations, and then when we see the difference, we do what Salesforce, Microsoft, and Amazon have already done, right? Even Uber has done this. They take that, ends up being a rounding error, right? Sometime in the Salesforce case study, it was $6 million, the difference in pay scale, right? They fixed it. And that has to come, it came from both the bottoms up and the tops down. It's not an either-or equation. Now, what you're also seeing, and I think where the opportunity, right, lies at this crisis time, is that when you have this workforce revolution going on, today, we have still, okay, with even tech and financial layoffs going on right now, 2 jobs open for every 1 worker that's looking. So you want to talk about what it's going to take. It's those pieces of data, when you put them together and you put them in front of your HR council, the companies, by the way, that are participating are on the White House's website, okay? So companies like IBM, who's a sponsor here today, Uber, we've got tech companies that are doing, but more importantly, we've got to see the financial industry come. We've got to see the big food and agri companies come to the table, because it's an all-industry approach. It's not just one. And 150 companies out of the Fortune 500 ain't enough. So if you go and you take a look at it, there is a promise and a commitment to doing the audits. And then the most important thing at a time when everybody's struggling for workers, whether it's restaurant workers, whether it's the farm workers in the fields, whether it's the technologists that I'm looking for. By the way, if you're looking for design jobs, I'm hiring. One of the key things that is critical, right, is understanding employee retention. And the reason we had the big resignation during the pandemic amidst women, when we studied the data, you know what women said? I'm leaving for más pago. I want more pay. And when their managers didn't give them more pay, they took off to another job. So one of the most important things that we can go do as Latinas inside of corporate America is commit to making the pledge, right? The national pledge that says we're going to get behind equal pay, do the audit, but as we are dealing with employee retention, actually advocating for all of the women that are coming in and asking for raises. Not everybody has the, I guess it's really often the confidence. And so one of the things that we have begun to do is actually have people advocate. We're now asking people, what is it that's going to get you to stay? Is it more money? If it's more money, let's go get it. Those are simple problems that we can. And the last thing I will talk about, you talked about it, and I think it's really important. Only 11 states in this country have ratified or put into law salary transparency. New York happens to be one of them. So go and look up, if you are here from another state today, salary transparency is really important because it does 2 things, and I think this is super important. Let's not drop that dollar, not 1 cent. Okay. It does 2 really important things. The first thing that it does is it disables an employer to ask you what you made in your previous position. You cannot be limited with this law in place. Salary transparency caps the limitation of saying, well, you only made this much, so we're only going to pay you this much. in the next level, right? And then the second part of what it does is that when you're seeking a job, they have to publish the salary ranges by level so that you can make an informed decision. If your company isn't doing that today, I'm asking you to go and advocate for it. If your state is not doing that today, call your congressman, call your state congress, call the people that represent you, and these are the actions that we want. So I'm going to stop right there, but say that we've got to support unions. We have to stop fighting with unions. We are one people, right? The industries that are fighting, what is really funny to me, Dolores, and I think this is so important, and I've been in tech, and you came to Amazon to help unionize, and I thank you for that, because those workers deserved it. But one of the things that is so critical is that what you see, unions have actually existed in the United States in industries for 100 years. And one of the key critical line items that says not just getting family paid and pay transparency and those things, but the last one, which ought to be the first one, is celebrating and helping unions organize in our companies. They are self-organized. It is a decentralized way for them to advocate for themselves and for employees to have power. And when we come to the table as corporate leaders, not as an adversary, but as a partner with the intent to design a better future, both for our companies and a better bottom line, we can do this. We can solve this. Sí se puede.
Sí se puede. Thank you so much. Joanna, I'm going to put you back on the spot, not now, but I would like you to talk about the commitment and the piece that you're bringing to the table, which is, I think, that's something that all of us should be excited about, which is to have the business case, the white paper, why does it matter? How does it matter for the company? The value proposition. I think that we have to talk about that, but we're not going to do that. But in reality, what we need is a business case. Why does it matter? We need the corporate recommendations that are going to come along with that, the policy recommendations that both of you, Hele and Dolores, are talking about. You guys, Olga and Patricia, you're bringing a tech platform and a tech solution to help Latinas, the individuals, to actually move forward. So do you mind talking about that?
Sure. I can start by just saying that, while we are pushing employers, obviously, to do more in terms of transparency, it is really up to each one of us, right, to also get the information that we need. We can't be waiting for somebody else to do the right thing for us. We have to just assume the responsibility, get the information that we need, so that we are very well equipped to go out there and actually negotiate. And yeah, that can be very scary sometimes, but we just have to get used to being okay with the uncomfortable. So the FinTech app that Patricia and I are co-founding along with another co-founder. We also have a Latino feminist that is working on this. I'm very happy about that. What we are really trying to do is not just put out there another FinTech that give us your money, let us manage it for you. No, there's an abundance of that. What we need is to really have a FinTech that educates, we bring in partners to help us with the content, because let's face it, it takes a village to be able to educate our community. And so what we're trying to do is, FinTech is really about, if you put it at high level, it's really to accelerate the transformation economically, socially for Latinas. And so we are taking a more comprehensive approach. So, for example, I can't tell you about, opening up a Roth IRA account unless I know that you're making money, right? So let's start the conversation with, let's get that equal pay from the get-go, right? And so in that instance, obviously making sure that when you do get that first job, right, what goes next? Well, you've got the job. You should see yourself be able to flourish and grow in that position, not 7 years later. No, you have to have ongoing conversations with your supervisor, with your manager, whoever it is, and saying, hey, you know what? Hey, Rick, or hey, whoever it is, I'm happy that I'm here. I'm going to grow with this company. How do we do this? What are those goals, right? So we use partners like ASE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, who knows how to do that very well, and other partners as well. And so then we can have a conversation about, okay, now you've got the job. Do you know how to actually even select those benefits that are being offered at your job? That's very important. Are you taking care of your, family? Also, you're earning the money. With Shenix at this point, you go in, you end up answering a survey, and it asks you not just about your money. I mean, it asks you about, are you looking for negotiation, negotiation help for your salary? Are you looking for, trying to buy a house? Are you trying to open up a business? Because Latinas, that's why we're opening up the business, because we want the money, right? We want to be our own chiefs, right? So we want to be able to also help in terms of access to capital through our partners to get you that capital. So again, it's not, then when you get ready for investments, the investment opportunities will be there as well. But let's start off with that first.
Yeah, and to,
Oh, you have one?
can you hear me?
Here. It's fine.
It's fine? Okay. Okay. To add to that, one of the programs that ASE has is the Mujeres de ASE Women's Leadership Program, which in the coming year will be celebrating the quinceañera, so 15 years of the program. I know we have some alum in the room, some alumna. And so part of the curriculum of the program is a personal finance and a negotiation and influence session. And it was throughout that program that we kept hearing, some of the questions, the common questions, the personal experiences that Latinas were facing, the barriers, the unique barriers that Latinas were facing as it pertained to obtaining that promotion, asking for that increased pay. And so with that would be part of what's included in the curriculum. But Mujeres de ASE is a leadership program that's geared to empower Latinas to thrive personally and succeed professionally. And what we found is that within less than a year of graduating from the program, 80% report an increase of salary within their place of employment, and 100% are recommending the program to others. And so we have some phenomenal partners, many here in the room, such as Comcast, NBC Universal, Telemundo, who have continuously either sent their own employees and sponsored others, help us launch even a Mujeres de ASE entrepreneur cohort that's empowering women in a culturally relevant way to go back and ask for that promotion to increase the pay, right? Because there's the cultural norms and beautiful values that we have, such as humility and modesty, but it's the awareness to understand that that's beautiful, and how do you learn how to assert yourself when needed when it comes to advocating for yourself, increase pay, and promotions.
So we have training partners, we have a platform. When is that platform going to come out? How do we people get and just like short and sweet, we want to make it as concrete and actionable so that we can get off with, like a toolkit.
Sure. First and foremost, the cards, the Shenix cards, I see one on the bottom of that side, but they're at your table. The Shenix app is available. It is a web-based app. It's a web-based app right now. We actually will be putting it on the phone in this coming year, but we are not going to wait till then. We have, the internet serves us all, so let's make it serve a good purpose. And I welcome you guys to be able to scan it, be able to forward it on to whoever that needs it. We are not selling this at this point. Anybody can sign up for free. Just make sure that, you share it forward, because this is actually a very valuable tool, and we hope that you guys can help us get it rolled out. Thank you.
We started talking, I think that about how, when we started looking at what's the white paper, what's the book, how are we going to get, like the business case made for corporations. Joanne, I think that made research, and there's more than 40,000 papers on the problem and none on the solution. So I think that's where we need to get to and write a white paper. I'd like to, before giving it to Joanna, if you don't mind, Hele, just, with the breadth of the initiatives that I mentioned, and again, we have a policy initiative that is working on that in Washington right now as Dolores. By the way, can we give it to Dolores, 92 years old, that is kicking butt Last night, she came back from Washington, D.C., where she was meeting the vice president at 3 a.m. in the morning to be here today. And thank you for your energy. But we have a partner in policy. But so, Hele, with the breadth of, we have a white paper, we have, like a PR campaign, we have an app, we have a lot of partners in training. What would be, like in a way, like seeing it from the outside and as a, like as an outsider, which we're not, like not so emotionally attached, like what would you see that are the gaps that this white paper, for example, could respond to?
First of all, it's still amazing to be here. I'm so honored to be part of this conversation. I think you got it now. You got the conversation amongst you. It's a very hard thing to start saying, I am part of a situation where I'm getting underpaid. It's a very hard situation to come out, but I don't know any movement that has succeeded, civil rights movement, Black Lives Matter, this movement that has not started with having this conversation, I want more. And I have agency to want more and ask for more. Now you have that. You have the tools that are empowering women. You're telling me that these women are getting empowered once they're done with these courses. You are collecting the data, and you're also talking openly about how women have to join hands and actually unionize in a modern way and become part of businesses, prosperity, the future, and creating a better economy for businesses. And you have Dolores, who will never give up on you and who will travel and do all this work. So I think you got it all. The only thing I'm thinking about needing right now is to say very clearly that the businesses who don't do all these things, they will actually lose their license to operate. Because the talent out there, they will be the Latinas. They will be the women who are selecting the companies that are doing something about this. I think the future belongs to the companies who are stepping up now, who are making this change, who are being this change. The future belongs to them, because all the young folks out there, younger than any of us in this room, they're looking at companies, they're asking, what can they do for me? They come with a humility, and I think we should value that characteristics, but they're coming and saying, what can they do for me, rather than my generation that came into a company and say, how can I fit in best way? So the values have to be there, and the younger generation, they will ask for those values. So you're almost there, Claudia. Now you need to write that white paper.
Yeah, and so I do think that for all of the companies, and I'm seeing the financial industry reflect that, I'm seeing, like insurance, I am seeing CPGs, I'm seeing retails. I think that all of you have corporate goals, like whether it's gender, CSR goals. So whether it's gender or education, so try to fit in Latina Equal Pay into the corporate goals that you have, and let's make sure that we equip you with the value proposition that is that. So Joanna, in 30 seconds, what's the white paper about, and how can people get involved?
We dared to ask, what if we paid Latinas equally? And the value proposition is this simple. When you pay Latinas, the 31 million of us equally, we will raise women out of poverty. That will be reduced by half, and we are $482 billion in the economy, and we will add that to the economy, right? That's adding 2.8% of our gross domestic product. That is the power we hold in this room today, and that is the beginning of the thesis, and of course, the blueprint that we will work on together and distribute open source. There are cards on your table today from Designed by Us. That is my foundation that focuses in on systems design and teaches bringing more women and girls into science, technology, engineering, math, arts, and design. It's called STEAMed. So if you use the QR code there, you can sign up for the open source white paper, in addition to early access to one of the first Latino crypto exchanges that we will be investing in.
And to close this incredible panel and very action-oriented panel, I hope that you feel energized. Dolores Huerta.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for emphasizing unions. And one thing that we really haven't mentioned that is also very, very important is that we get universal daycare for all of our families, you know. In the state of New Mexico, who has a female governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, they have now are going to be providing daycare for low-income women in the state of New Mexico free. And that is amazing, and this is something, and I think you already have that in Denmark along with everything else. I do want to mention also too, and some people may kind of raise their eyebrows when I say that, because they have a social government, a socialist government in Denmark. And here in the United States, when you say the S word, it's, wow, you know. So we can't be afraid of that word, because basically socialism is our women's values. I mentioned before how we survived because we shared, and we have to share the prosperity. There is no reason why we should have homeless women on the streets of New York City or California or everywhere in the United States. We have to share the wealth. Having labor unions is one way to at least equalize it a little bit, and we can just remember what is a labor union? A labor union is an organization of workers. That's all that it is. It's an organization of workers so that they can be represented on the job, in the community, in the state legislature, and in the Congress. And we know that all of the employers have their organizations that they pay fees to. Well, a union is an organization the workers have to represent them on the job, okay? And in the community and in the state legislature. And they pay dues to their labor unions. So labor unions are a very essential and critical, crucial part of our economy. And we must always remember that. And corporations have to understand that workers are your partners because they're doing the work. By the way, let's applaud these waiters right here that are taking care of us today, okay? So much of what workers do is invisible, but we are all benefited from the work that workers do, so we must always keep them in mind and remember them, okay? The essential workers that are really helping us in our society. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Let's close with how remarkable it is that we are together at the United Nations, marking Latina Equal Pay Day, talking about the solutions we're gonna do together. So please join me again, and I do want to give a special shout out to former Prime Minister of Denmark, Helle Thorning-Schmidt, from taking a plane just to come to this luncheon and sharing her wisdom with us. Thank you so much, Helle. With allies like you, we feel inspired to make it happen. Please give it to Helle Thorning-Schmidt again. And to this incredible panel, Patricia Mota, Olga Camargo, Joana Peña, and the living legend, Dolores Huerta.